Yeah, the interface between MeetEcho and Data Tracker was modified to make all this much faster. And maybe it's now a little bit slower.
Yeah, it's still spinning.
Oh.
You're asked to share slides, but I can't do that because it's spinning. So let's go do that. All right.
Yeah, no documents available.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still spinning. Okay, well, whatever. Well, it's the top of the hour. We have Russ on. Yeah, I don't know what's with the interface there, but
Maybe you need to reload. Data Tracker definitely has them.
yes. Well, maybe do you want to try just showing them from your computer?
That's when it usually locks up. So I'm not going to try that.
Okay, then
But
let's not.
if you can show them from your computer.
All right. I am in the middle of serving myself breakfast, so one sec. Okay. Let's see. Let me get these from the data tracker. Nothing is ever easy. Okay. PDF. There we go. Okay, I have the slides. Well, so now I'm going to try just uploading them from here. All right. Now try requesting.
Yeah.
Come on. Grant.
It was almost more work to put them up than to make them.
Yes.
Great work.
All right, let's get started. Welcome everybody to the last CBOR interim call before IETF 120. The primary thing today is setting up the agenda for 120, and Karsten has some slides to start with. So Karsten, take it away.
Okay, thank you. I prepared my usual document tour, but this time focused on whether we want to look at the document at 120. So right now, the front side has 4 documents that are out of our hands. Time tag is back to auth 48. after a second IETF last call, and we are finding little editorial things, but it should be done very, very soon. Update 8610 grammar is in the RFC editor queue in edit state. EDN literals is waiting for AD go ahead. Hi, Ori. And maybe it's worth reporting that Yang SID, which is a resource that we will be using on the CBOR side as well, is also in Auth 48. And we just finished asking the 58 questions the RFC editor had, and are now doing the rest of Auth 48. So I think none of these need to be discussed in Vancouver, except Ori has something to say about EDN literals.
I've received the updated draft. I haven't had a chance to review the feedback yet. Assuming all of the comments are addressed, I will push it forward.
Good. So there is still one comment from Rohan where we disagree on whether the significant surgery should be done or not, but all the other comments should be addressed. Okay, so next. Ooh, that looks interesting. What was that? Interesting transition. So we have one document that completed working group last call and had some work done based on the feedback. And I believe the working group last call feedback is addressed. We could now do another working group last call, a short call, or just say it's addressed. So we could also discuss it at 1:20. I'm essentially open to what we do next, but I consider the author's work on this document done.
Do you think the last call comments are worth discussing at 1:20? Or do you think that whatever remains can just be done in IETF last call?
I think that can be done in IETF last call. So PR6 was only a clarification, an important one, but I don't think we changed anything. What? And PR5 was just more text about how .join works. This is an interesting operator because there is no expectation that you implement it fully. So we got some questions how exactly this is going to work in practice. And I think the additional text should address this, but this is definitely something that could be discussed.
Comments from anybody else? Marco? Ricard? Anybody?
Same.
Okay. I mean, I guess, Ori, go ahead.
If we can discuss this, depending on what the other agenda items are, I would prefer to have a record of any discussion that comes from this before last call, just making my life a little bit easier. But I guess it depends on the rest of the agenda item. So I would put it as a tentative agenda item to do a somewhat detailed review of what's changed here, and then we can maybe skip it if there's more important work.
Okay. Well, certainly the first thing on the agenda is usually document status, and we can put this as part of the discussion of document status. So yes, let's do that.
Good. Next one is the pact document, which is essentially stable, but we wanted to gain more experience with it. So one item of experience is Christian's document on how to build tables by reference. So that document has been out. I'm not sure what the implementation status is. And the other document that is out there is the DNS CBOR document. This explores different approaches of doing this, some of which use packed unchanged, some of which change something. Here, maybe the interesting observation is that there is a paper in a conference submission right now, where the paper acceptance deadline is September. So I'm not sure that Martin will be very interested in discussing the content of this paper at this point in time. So otherwise, I would think that would be very good input, feedback for how to use packed. So I'm not sure that we have enough substance for a discussion at 120, but maybe we can put this in as another optional provisional agenda item.
Yes, that sounds like a plan.
Good. Then the CDE document has had a lot of mailing list traffic. Unfortunately, I ran out of time integrating Rohan's pretty useful editorial comment. So there probably will be a -04 by 120. And I'm pretty sure you also want to discuss what to do next. I think it's ready for Working Class Scroll, but only in its -04 version and after some discussion. There are also two related informationals. One is the deterministic encoding explainer, which hasn't been revised in a while, so maybe it needs one editorial pass. So we have to decide what to do with that. It's really informational in the best sense, so it tells people how all this stuff works. So we could do this as a working group document, or I could pursue doing this as an ISE document. I would be happy with either. And then there is another new, oh, that's the wrong reference. There is another new document, CBOR -numbers, not the draft -numbers. This is something completely different. So I messed up the slides there. So there's a new document, draft Bormann CBOR numbers, which addresses the entire field of numbers in CBOR, which is probably the most complicated aspect of CBOR, not because CBOR is complicated, but because numbers are complicated. So I intend to pursue this to make the very rough editorial work that I managed to do before submission better. This might be a way to let off steam from the CDE document, which is spending quite a few pages on number issues. And really, it shouldn't explain CBOR numbers in general. It should say what exactly you do with them for deterministic encoding. So if we decide we want to do this numbers document, not the one on the slide, but the other one, then maybe we can make the CDE document much more streamlined, which I think would be good, because right now it looks like CDE is complicated and it actually isn't. So I think this definitely should be discussed at 120.
Yep, sounds like a plan. Good.
Yeah, this is weird. Do you see slide 5?
I do.
I do too.
Good. The transition is really weird on my end here.
Yeah, they're fine here. So.
Good. So we all know there is a related document that we now all agree should be in the independent stream, or at least should not be a working document. I'm not sure that everybody agrees it should be an independent stream. And I think we have completed a discussion on this sufficiently that we agree this is not a run around the working group. This is a true independent document making use of the application profile concept in CDE. And there was one last question about tag 201, which I think Christian answered today, giving Ayanna the go-ahead to register that. Yeah, there's nothing we need to do here, but I just wanted to report this. This is probably now going the way to the ISE. And of course, it should be clustered with the CDE document itself because it's based on CDE. Okay, next, slide 6. We had one document where we thought we were done, except that there is an interesting technical dark corner here, which is importing specifications that add to sockets. And the import mechanism doesn't work unchanged for this. So the plan is to finally implement one way of handling this and having a next version of the document before 120. And if we manage to pull this off, then I wouldn't mind having a discussion at 120, even if the input document only will be available on Sunday before IETF.
Yep, okay, that would be fine.
Then the next one is the EDN EREF document, which we just recently adopted. So this is time for reviews. We already have a couple of documents that use this, in particular the GM admin document over in ACE. So they are using it by essentially restating what's in this document as far as they need it. So I think we should look at the experience we have there. Marco, I hope I have represented this draft correctly, and maybe discuss this at 120. Marco?
Yeah, thanks, Carsten. The draft was the Guinea pig, definitely, but I took advantage of the latest submission round to use that approach wherever I could in all the documents where I had that issue.
Good.
Thanks.
So we're looking forward to a short report from you, what your experience with using is.
Well, in short, it's nice and simple. I like it. There may be details to wordsmith, but it's good, I think.
Great. Okay, so let's discuss this at 120. Yeah, and the rest of the slides are just reminders on the other documents that we have. So we have this draft numbers document, which is the other numbers document. I really didn't pay attention when creating these draft names. So this is a completely different issue. It's the issue that is related to the EREF document, and it's just a way to manage CBOR numbers in internet drafts. We probably want to revisit this after the experience we're having with EREF. But yeah, I think we can take our time discussing whether and when to adopt this, because it's useful for referencing already now, because the reference is always of the form that it will be taken out by the RFC editor. So it's never a problem that it would be a downref or something, because it just describes the handling up to the RFC editor, not the way it's then shown in the RFC. There are two documents that have...
Sorry, just a
yes,
quick comment on the last one. I do think it would be useful to discuss this draft. If I'm correct, this is the one that sort of handles the case of you're working on drafts, you have CBOR registrations, they're in progress. I've heard from a lot of implementers some challenge in how to manage provisional requested registration assignments, that kind of thing. So I think some clarity or working group discussion around this would probably be helpful. Just a comment.
Yeah, let's do that. I totally agree. If there's need for discussion here, let's do that. It gets much simpler with the EREF stuff. So it's we don't have something similar on the CDDL side, but we can describe maybe how this should be handled in CDDL. So let's do that. Number 9, there is a couple of documents that upgrade the Yang CBOR definition. One is a way to actually use binary information in places where the other Yang representations have text-based information. It's really weird to send a CBOR instance with a text-based representation of an IPv6 address in it. This is not what we need. So this is what the Yang stand-in does. And there is a Yang feature called metadata, and there is a proposal how to handle that. So these documents probably need one editorial round each. And then we probably want to get attention from the netmod people to make sure we are not doing something stupid here. But I don't think we can pull this off for 120. So unless somebody sees a big reason to discuss this, I would propose not discussing them. And finally, number 10, slide number 10, just lists a few more documents that are more informative, and we probably don't need to discuss unless somebody sees a need for an update. So that's it from my side.
Okay, so it looks like we have a few well, we'll do general document status and then a few documents to specifically discuss. And do we have any other things for the agenda? It sounds like no, it's I guess I picked up probably 3 documents that we might have a significant discussion of, and a couple of other things that will be short discussions.
Ori?
Just if there's time, I'd like to circle back to the conversation around the CDE draft and any kind of remaining comments around that. I've reviewed the -10 updates, and it seems like all of the comments have been addressed. But Karsten, you were saying Rowan had a comment that where there was still disagreement, and I'd like to have a better understanding of that if there's time.
Yes, you probably mean EDN and not CDE.
Yes, I definitely mean EDN.
Yeah, so EDN has this interesting idea of having plugins, which we call application-oriented literals. And so the ABNF for EDN itself essentially has a place where these plugins can be put in, but because ABNF doesn't have a plugin architecture, we do this by describing the general structure of these things and then having separate pieces of ABNF that describe the extensions. And because it's the easiest thing to do, this also covers, the same mechanism is also used for hex and base 64 literals of byte strings. Now, doing this in a 2-level system really helps with making things pluggable. But of course, it's less streamlined if you actually use this in an implementation in something like a bulk usage. So if you really want to base your code on EDN as an interchange format, you probably want to integrate all this into one piece of ABNF. But of course, that is then a little bit harder to plug in stuff for. I don't think we should be overly concerned with applications that do bulk usage of EDN literals. Usually it's tools, and those tools usually don't have a problem with a two-level ABNF. That's why I thought this is not something we need to act on. If we want to act on this, then the ABNF gets significantly more complicated because it needs to integrate those two levels of ABNF for each usage.
So thanks for that description. I think Rowan had at one point raised a pull request and provided like consolidated ABNF. And I remember reviewing that, but I don't know that I've seen commentary from anyone other than yourself or Rowan on this topic. So I would like to, I'd like to have a better sense as to like what the other working group members are feeling around it, if I could. Yeah,
Christian also has an implementation of EDN, and he said he was fine with a two-level approach. So yeah, I think we have two implementations that are fine with it, and one where one is pursuing the single level. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. It's just that this document doesn't contain the ABNF you would feed to your implementation. So you can still have an alternative single level ABNF somewhere on a wiki or in a software release. This is not, this implementation approach is not excluded. But yeah, if you actually look at the PR and at the number of lines changed, you can see that for expositional reasons, it's actually much better to do it in a two-level construct, because you can separate the concerns of escaping characters and of describing the actual syntax of the literal. But yeah, you have to look at the pull request and then see how many lines are added and how many lines are removed.
Okay, so I will get a draft agenda out to the list today. It looks like it's going to be a simple agenda. I don't think we will use our whole hour in Vancouver if we don't come up with other items, but who knows how long some discussion might wind up going. I'll note that we are the last session on Friday, which is, I guess, later in the day than I would like it to be for the Europeans who will be participating remotely. But you know, somebody has to be last, so I guess we get to be, and we will hope that we're not last in Dublin. Anything else we need to talk about today besides the timing of the interim calls coming up?
So if anybody has had a chance to look at the new numbers draft, I would love to hear some feedback, even if it's editorial very rough. But I mean, this was like yesterday, so maybe nobody has had a chance yet.
Well, it will be on the agenda for discussion in Vancouver, so we will ask people to take a specific look at it now. So that should be good. All right. So the dates for, let me get back to this. The dates for the interim calls between 120 and 121 are listed in the hedge doc. 21 August, 4 and 18 September, and 2 and 16 October. This is continuing the same cadence that we have, so it should be non-controversial. Does anyone have any issues? Hearing none, and I posted this to the mailing list as well and have seen nothing on that. I will go ahead and make the request for these probably during Vancouver. I don't see any reason to do it earlier, so we'll give people a little more time to say whether there's a problem with those dates, but I'm sure they won't be, being as they follow the same cadence we've always had. Okay, anything else? Okay, I guess we're good for today. Karsten, thanks for going through all that. And like I said, I will get a draft agenda posted, well, today or tomorrow. I'm going to aim for today.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, people, for showing up. And Marco, especially, as always, thanks for taking notes. It's really helpful.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.